the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavallaey. We have a slightly shorter show for you today, the international break. We will be reacting to Italy's final Nations League matches, in particular the Sunday evening match at San Siro, where Italy crumbled against France, losing 3-1, losing top spot of the Nations League group in the process. So we will break down that game and we will also look ahead to 2025 and the Azzurri's World Cup qualification, as well as their quarterfinals of the Nations League, and look at what lessons are to be learned from these Nations League matches, which players should stay, which players should go, and how Italy are building up ahead of the World Cup. In club football, not too much to talk about. We will react to Claudio Ranieri's return for a third spell at Roma. Juventus have had a bad week, suffering another ACL casualty with Juan Cabal putting them in complete crisis in defence. And also Paul Pogba's officially said goodbye as his contract is terminated, and we'll also look ahead to the return of Serie A this weekend. We'll also have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including a weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday where we answer all of the questions from our patrons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month plus VAT. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. Same term, same price. For all of you that do listen on Spotify, Apple and iTunes podcasts, we'd really appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating, give us a follow and a like. We're on YouTube as well. All of that really helps us to grow and do more quality content for you guys. Okay, let's start today's show. So, Italy versus France on Sunday evening, the last match of the UEFA Nations League group stages. And Italy went into the game only needing to avoid losing by more than one goal, and they would finish top of their group. They failed to do that. They lost 3-1. So not only did they lose the game, they also lost top spot, which means that when the draw is done, I think later this week actually, and before the end of the month, for the quarterfinals of the Nations League, Italy will be unseeded, which means they are guaranteed a very, very tough game. So not a good evening for Italy. I thought a bit of a reality check for the Azzurri, because the spirits and the hopes of everyone had been restored after that disastrous Euro 2024. We'd won our first 4 and drawn 1 of the 5 games in the Nations League, and everybody was quite hopeful. And this, I think, was a reality check. We lost 3-1. We were very, very poor, and this game showed that there's still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of weaknesses that we need to address. The attacking options not being good enough, but more than anything, Nima, I think our defence, and in particular our set pieces, that is absolutely crystal clear now. And that's on Luciano Spalletti. We need to sort out our defending on set pieces going forward into 2025 if we are going to become a force, because the last 6 goals that Italy have conceded have all been from set pieces, including 3 goals from set pieces in this match. That is on Luciano Spalletti. We have a great group of defenders, all fantastic aerially, and it's unacceptable for us to be so vulnerable and to concede so many chances and goals off corners, off free kicks, off set pieces. So that was the biggest lesson from this defeat against France, I think, Nima.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I'm not as upset about this. I actually think that there are moments in where a defeat can actually serve one well. And given how this Nations League campaign has been very good for Italy, barring Pellegrini losing his mind against Belgium, which would have made this match completely a moot point, and Italy would have secured the first spot. This was a healthy defeat, because I think it's gone a little bit too well for Italy since the Euros debacle. What I think overwhelmingly the Nations League has been positive for Italy. I think they've learned. Spalletti has been humbled, and he's worked really well, and understood the mistakes he made last summer, learned from them, and he's created a situation where I think now the formation and tactics are actually pretty solid. Italy have got something really good. Oh, excuse me. They've got something really good. A project that looks, for the first time since Mancini took over, they actually have something that looks really good going into the World Cup and World Cup qualifiers. It's gone maybe a little bit too good, because excuse me.
Bloody hell, Nima. What is going on?
Well,
is
yeah,
it pollen season.
Yeah, well, no, it's not pollen season. It's the change of. It's when things get really bloody cold in this country. We go from 10 degrees to close to 0 degrees, and I'm a little bit affected by that and sneezing like an idiot.
Well, it's -1 degrees in London at the moment,
there you go.
For when you come over. So
lovely! It'll
you
make
brought
me
the
feel
Swedish
right
weather.
at home.
You brought the Swedish weather with you.
Yeah, it's making me feel right at home. For those not understanding, it's the Football Content Awards this week. And it's winter in Sweden. But no, so I'm a little bit congested. So sorry about that. No, I think this, like I said, it's a healthy loss in the sense that I think things have gone a little bit maybe too good, and Italy needed a reality check. Italy needed to come down to earth, and I think their weaknesses that they need to work on have been exposed against France, and I think that's a good thing. But because I don't really care about the Nations League, as I keep saying and have said for the last 2 years since Spalletti took over, is Italy have to qualify for the World Cup. They have to deliver good results in the World Cup, and they have to go far in the World Cup. That's the target. Everything about the Azzurri I see working towards 2026, and that. Nothing else matters to me. So I'm glad that they got exposed at the San Siro against a very good side, a side that they comfortably beat away in France when this thing started 1 or 2 months ago. And it showed that they can't just cruise, and that this 3-5-1-1, I like the 3-5 part, not so much the 1-1 part, because I don't think Italy have players for the 1-1 part. And of course the set pieces, which have been dreadful under Spalletti for over a year now.
Defense in general, I think, has to improve under Spalletti, because the game against Belgium, which we won 1-0 last week, which we didn't deserve to keep a clean sheet in. I should add. Lukaku misses a sitter. They have other chances in that second half where we defended badly in that second half. We didn't. See, at the moment, our defenders are not doing the basic things well in terms of defending their box. Like, we're not getting opened up much. Like, even in this France game, France didn't create anything from open play. It was all, they didn't slice us open. They didn't have one-on-ones. They didn't have loads of space in the penalty area. It was just basic, old-fashioned box defending. Crosses, defend your crosses into the box. Defend your high balls. Defend set pieces. This is what we haven't been doing well enough under Spalletti, like you said, for the last year. And especially, that is highlighted especially on set pieces. And the game against Belgium, which we didn't deserve to keep a clean sheet, that's the first time in a year that we've kept a clean sheet in a competitive game under Spalletti. So you add that to the set piece problems. That's on Spalletti. We shouldn't be. I'm not saying that modern football's different. It's not like it was in the past. I'm not demanding that we're Italy in 1990 and you never score, you never even have a shot against us, because football's changed. But if you're keeping one clean sheet in a year, and you're conceding this number of goals to set pieces, then that's on the manager. And it shouldn't be happening when we've got a really good group of centre backs now, a really top group of centre backs. They've showed that for their clubs. Bastoni, Calafiori, Buongiorno now for Napoli. And from an aerial point of view, they're all great aerially. The same, Di Lorenzo is very good aerially. Gatti, if he plays, is brilliant in the air. Even players like Mancini, they're all great in the air. There's no excuse for us to be this bad at defending our box, doing the basic defending. And that's I think, down to a lack of organisation. That's a lack of just the work isn't being done to organise them and to drill them in training. That's on the manager for sure. I've no doubt about that at all. So that's on Spalletti. The good thing about it is that is something that should be easily solved. It'd be more of a concern if Italy were getting opened up and that we didn't have the defenders. And do you know what I mean? This is something that should be easily solved. One of those things to solve is Vicario should never play for Italy ever again. There's absolutely, for me, he should not be playing for Italy ever again, because you cannot have a goalkeeper playing for... I mean, I know Donnarumma's not the strongest. PSG fans would tell you that Donnarumma's, one of his weaknesses is off corners as well. But Vicario, you cannot have a goalkeeper playing for Italy. You cannot have your second goalkeeper, who will have to play occasionally, who is as bad at corners. Every corner is almost like a penalty when Vicario's playing. You ask Tottenham fans,
I was just about to say the Tottenham. If it wasn't just Italy, like if it was just Italy, I'd be disagreeing. But given how it looked for Tottenham as well, he has problems on set pieces. There's no denying that. Like, you just need to look at the last 10, 15, 20 goals he's conceded for club and country, and you'll understand that there is an issue with him on set pieces.
Corners that go into the 6-yard box, that's on the goalkeeper, or at least partly on the goalkeeper, as we saw with the first goal, last night. It wasn't all on him, but if a corner's put into the 6-yard box, pretty close to the goalkeeper, you need a goalkeeper to be commanding and to command that area, to be in control of that area in one way or another. And the number of goals that Vicario concedes, not just for Italy, but for Tottenham especially, that are corners into the 6-yard box. Look at the one that Arsenal scored, Gabriel scored this season. That's a good example. So for me, Vicario shouldn't...
He looks anxious on corners, and I don't understand why. Like, it's weird, because that's like the bread and butter, isn't it? I mean, a simple corner nowadays, this isn't the 80s. Do you know what I mean? Like, you should be able to handle that, and I don't understand why he can't. I don't understand what the issue is. He looks anxious every time there's a corner, and I don't get it. I really don't, because I don't think I don't think that he's irredeemable, or it's a permanent state of affairs. I just don't understand why he looks so afraid and anxious every time there's a corner, and everyone knows it, and so they ruthlessly expose it.
Everyone's targeting it.
Yeah, just like Allegri did with long shots against Handanovic when he was coach of Juve. Like, every time they were going to play each other, Juve fans were going to shoot from pretty much every goddamn point in the pitch, because they know that Handanovic was going to do his laser eyes treatment.
And then it becomes a mental problem as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Which it clearly is. So I think that Spalletti needs to go away and sort the defence and make them, because at the moment they're underperforming the defence when you bear in mind the quality that we have in defence. We have we're up there with in terms of centre backs. I think we're up there with any nation for the group of centre-backs that we have available.
Yeah, but there is something I want to talk about, and that is Buongiorno. Look, I think Buongiorno's been outstanding so far. I think Conte's improved him brilliantly, and he's even improved in playing in a back four, which no one expected. But then again, it's Conte things. He's fantastic at improving players when you kind of least expect it. But if the player is the kind of player that he works in his system and applies himself, Conte can work with anyone. He made bloody Skriniar work in a back three, for crying out loud. But which was like, who thought that? So I'm not worried as such, but I do think there is something here that shows that Buongiorno's not quite there yet, and that is both for Napoli and now Italy. The last month, we see him. He was outstanding against Inter, but against Milan, and the week before that, he makes mistakes. He's still not 100% there yet, and I think we saw that for Italy in the second game against France as well. That he still makes these airhead mistakes. I'm not too worried because I think these are things that he will work on, and as a result, he will improve. Because he's got a good head on his shoulders. He seems very, very focused, very determined to improve. So I'm not worried about that. But we have to acknowledge that he's not the fully finished product just yet. He's had a fantastic start to the season. Conte's made him take that salto di qualità, the step in quality upwards. He has done that, but he's not there yet. He's not at the level that we want them to be.
Yeah, no, he was at fault for the first goal, wasn't he? For the first header, yeah.
So I'm not worried, but that is also a factor. And you know what? This is it's like it all comes full circle for me, because Spalletti's job isn't fully done yet. He's got a year and a half to sort that out. Buongiorno's got a year and a half to take that final step. Calafiori, when he comes back from injury as well, and other players that are injured. So I think that it's a work in progress, and I'm glad that there are problems that they have to deal with now, because there's time to deal with that.
Well, let's talk about another problem, Nima, the attack, because I think the other thing that was apparent in this game, even though I think before this match we were the second highest scorers in the Nations League, if I'm not mistaken, which we know. Our group was a good group, France, Belgium. So, it wasn't that's pretty impressive, winning away at Belgium, winning away at France as well. So it's not like we struggled, but in this game, I think again it was a reality check of where we are in attack, and we just again have to be honest that we just don't have the quality in attack.
We're not there yet.
We don't. We need some players to come through in attack. I mean. The only danger in this game was crosses coming from wide, mainly from Di Marco was for me Di Marco and Cambiasso were the only players that were a threat in this match out wide. That was our only threat in this match. Anything else from the attack, including from the midfielders, but through the centre there was nothing. It was so easy for France. They gobbled up everything, and but that is because we really are lacking quality, Retegui was very disappointing in both of these games. Very, very disappointing. He played in these two games like the Retegui of last season. The Retegui who we doubted had the overall game in terms of his involvement in the play, in linking up with teammates, in being involved and not just being a penalty box guy and nothing else. And this season for Atalanta, we've lauded him and even for Italy in the early games in September. And October for being, for having that in his game. These last two games, he was like the old Retegui. And yes, he didn't really get the service. He was a bit isolated. Partly that was partly it. But yeah, he was bad. And then everybody else, there was just nothing else. There was no attacking threat. And I agree with you completely. I think this also showed that Barella is not we can't be using Barella as a one behind the one. It's not, it hasn't worked. And it's not his role, obviously. It's not going to get the best out of him, but it also means that we don't have enough of an attacking threat. So I think we need two attackers, and we don't need to be that have that many midfielders.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I think we need to get rid of the 3-5-1-1. I want to play a 3-5-2 instead. I don't think Italy have players that can interpret that 10 role, unfortunately, yet, unless Baldanzi explodes under Ranieri and we can play him there. But I don't really see anyone else, or Pellegrini has a
No.
has some sort of a renaissance.
I'm surprised he didn't give Maldini a proper chance this game. Just give him a chance, and then see how he does. I actually thought he did okay when he came on, but he got on the ball, he wanted the ball, he made quick 1-2s and stuff. I mean, he didn't have enough time on the pitch, really. That's the problem. But I think we've learned conclusively that we can't use Barella, and we need to have more numbers in attack and have more of an attacking threat. But unfortunately, part of the reason why Barella was playing in that position is because Spalletti realises, like the rest of us, that we just don't have many options. We don't have any options. Our attacking options are just not there. And Moise Kean, I have to say, he had a good shot at the end, which Manuel made a brilliant save. But apart from that, he flopped in both these two matches. His audition, he just didn't look up to it at all. In the first game, he was even worse. He had two kind of one-on-ones with the last defender against Belgium and fluffed it completely. And then he had one in this game where the ball, I think it was DiMarco, played it into him in the 6-yard box. And he had quite an easy, to be honest, at this level, quite an easy control and turn to get a shot at goal. And it would have been a good chance if he'd have done that, because the defender was too close to him and he miscontrolled the ball and then lost the opportunity to get the shot in. Moise Kean, he flopped, and he's doing so well in Serie A. I'm not writing him off because we've both been praising him, but I'm just saying that I think this was a reality check on kind of
yes,
our
I think it was for everybody, and I think from the attack to the defense to the goalkeeper and above all to the midfield, yes. I think Spalletti was completely redeemed by not trusting Locatelli. Okay, that's not Locatelli's role, perhaps, but he's not a starter for Italy. Locatelli, he's just not, and I think we saw that. Why he was ruthlessly exposed his limitations, and I think he should still be in the squad, but I just don't think he's a starter. I'd rather have Rovella starting, or Ricci is.
Well, that's it. No, that's what I was going to say. I think that this international break has shown that Locatelli is behind both Ricci and Rovella. I think Rovella did more. I thought Rovella, when he came on, did okay. Yeah. He showed a bit more energy, was a bit more involved. But Locatelli, I don't think Locatelli was bad. I just think that, he made them. He was his fault on the third goal, which was from a set piece. The header, the Rabiot second goal, the header. That was his. He was marking it. So he was to blame there. But in overall play, I don't think he was bad. But I think that he doesn't offer you. I think off the ball, you can see his limitations. He's a bit slow. He doesn't win the ball back. And I think Spalletti called it kind of cleaning the game was his words. Cleaning the game, which means like winning it back quickly, the counter press or the press and the counter press, and just kind of like having that more kind of that intensity and bite and I don't think he does that as well, and he's a little bit more methodical, I think, and so I think that was shown, but also like just the midfield in general, like you would have expected Italy to dominate possession in this game, like they did in Paris, when you consider that. Well, look at the France midfielders in this game; they're all runners. Guendouzi, Koné, and who's the other? Rabiot. These are not ball players. These are not players that dominate possession and control the game. They're all generally. I thought Koné was excellent. I think that's a good news for Roma. But they're runners. They're runners and they're tacklers and they're athletic. But they're not players that are going to control possession. And for much of this game, it was 50-50. It was actually kind of 53-52 to France. For I was watching the possession count during most of the game. France were actually having a slightly more possession than us in this game. We did not control the midfield and run that midfield like we usually do under Spalletti. And you ask yourself, well, what's changed? Well, Locatelli. That's the only change, really, because Tonali's been playing, Fraterzi's been playing, Barella's been playing. So we didn't get control of that midfield, and I think that's going to be a black mark against Locatelli, because he's the only one he's the only difference in that midfield.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you on that. I think it just overall, I think it was very good to see that, and I think this kind of puts an end to that discussion, doesn't it? As well with Spalletti, kind of why isn't Locatelli there? Well, now he was, and we saw why he doesn't trust him, and I think that's good for him to have shown that, and also so that people can't complain and criticize him too much. I still do think that Locatelli should be in the squad. And I don't.
Who for though? Because you're only going to pick two registers, aren't you? So
Well,
that
well, I
Richie's
don't,
going to
I
be
don't
one.
see but I don't see Locatelli as a regista. I think he should be more in the mid, like one of the backups to the Mitsala role. I think he's
But
too
he's not going to
easy.
play. He's not going to pick him for that if he never plays there for Juventus, does he? He plays as a regista for
Well,
Juventus. So
yeah, but he's got a different role at Juve. He doesn't have a pure regista role for Juve. I think he's got it's Motta is actually one of the interesting things about what Motta does is how he manages to kind of create systems where you don't have maybe very fluid roles, but where it's also given the situation who is where and how and so on. I think Spalletti plays with pure registas, and Locatelli is not a pure regista, and we know he's not. He's not been one since ever. But I do think that in a more he can play. He is a dynamic midfielder who has something to offer off the bench. I do think that. I don't want to see him playing in this system in front of the defense because I don't think he's got that in him. And I think that's now been definitely established. That debate is now over. And I don't want to see Barella in a number 10 either. Again, the number 10, Italy should not play with a number 10 because they don't have the players for it. Not a classic number 10, not the kind of number 10 that he wants to have, because he wants a number 10 that can help pack the midfield centrally. I don't think Italy have players for that. I think they should play a 3-5-2 with either Raspadori or someone like, Maldini or something next to Retegui, and up top, and that they all kind of help out and press in without possession, and you have more of a someone moving between the lines like a Raspadori in the two, or if you just have two out and out strikers, depending on who you're playing. But this one thing needs to stop. Because it's not working, and Italy don't have the players for it, and you're just killing Barella as well, and there's no need to kill
it's a
Barella.
tough one. I understand why Spalletti tried it, because I think he looks at our group, our options in attack, and he thinks, well, we can barely get one top attacker, let alone two, and so he's trying to use more of his strong suit, which is his midfielders. And so I understand why he thought that, but he's tried it and it hasn't worked. So now he needs to try something else. And it was a reality check. Also because we were playing a France team missing their best players. France were missing half their team. They didn't have Mbappe. They didn't have Chouameni. Teo Hernandez was injured as well. They had other Camavinga was suspended. They had a lot of players who should have played, who would have played in this game, that didn't play. And to lose 3-1, I mean, yeah, it's a disappointing result. I think from France's point of view, I think it was a good day for the Serie A French players. I mean, I thought Koné's excellent. I think he's been really good this season. He's been a really good signing. He's the one Roma signing that really, I think has done well. And I think Ranieri he'll be good for Ranieri. I thought Guendouzi was his usual pain in the arse self, just winding players up. And I thought he did pretty well. And Thuram was excellent. Thuram kind of showed Retegui kind of what Retegui needed to do in this game. His hold up play, occupying defenders. I thought he was really, really good, bringing others into play. And Magnon, I mean, didn't have much to do until the end, but he won them the group at the end with that. I mean, that was a brilliant reaction save on Ken right at the end, like the last kick of the game, wasn't it, basically? And that was great. So I think for Serie A, the Serie A French players all did really well. And Rabiot, of course, the old Juventus guy, scoring 2 goals. So it was, yeah.
Rabiot is a good player, as I keep telling. He's very disrespected, and I think people should stop disrespecting him. I think he's a very useful player who scores. Who in a system is a very, very serviceable player. I've always liked him. I always thought that from PSG to Juve. I think he's a very serviceable player, and I'm surprised that no one wanted to get him. Well, not really, given
Whereas
if we
wage
did, if
demands, Mama
yeah, if we
Rabiot's wage
yeah,
demands
if
were
we
pretty high.
disregard Veronique's nonsense and the wage demands and sign-on fees and all that nonsense, you get that. But as a player, I would have absolutely loved him to be at Inter. I think as a rotation player at Inter, he would have been a fantastic player. He works, and he doesn't really. He seems like the kind of person also who, he just gets on with it. I mean, if you discard his mother, slash agent, he's a kind of player who seems has matured a lot. And he puts in a shift for the team always in both phases, and I think players like that, and he also has this kind of tactical awareness and intelligence, and that's why he gets into goal scoring positions. His finishing is good, so no, I do like him, and I think he, I think he's a good player, and I think people have been a little bit too harsh on him. But yes, France did miss a lot of their best players, but that just goes to show the incredible depth that France have, that they can.
Which Italy don't have.
Well, not many in world football have.
No.
If we're perfectly honest, I think France are the only ones who, together with Germany, perhaps, who can field 2-3 lineups who are just as good. Maybe Portugal, even, or Spain, as well. You can add to that.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's not many in the world who can do that.
I would definitely not say Germany, but yeah, the others, they've got good depth. Right, so that result means that France, and I should say also add that saves Deschamps' job, which in the long term might actually be good for Italy and the other the other rivals. But the final table is that France now come first in the group, and they finished the same number of points as Italy, 13, but they have a better goal difference as a result of matching Italy's win in Paris. So France are first, Italy second, and Belgium third. And so France are seeded for the quarterfinal draw. Italy are unseeded for the quarterfinal draw, which basically means that Italy will play one of Portugal, Germany, or Spain in the quarterfinals. It's a two-legged quarterfinal at the end of March. Away first game. No, they'll be at home for the first game now because they were unseeded. Away for the second leg, and then it's one-legged semi-finals and a final in June. So there you have it. Going to be a tough game. But what that means is it means that Italy will now be in a 4-team group for the World Cup qualifiers that start in September 2025 and end in November 2025. So the World Cup qualification campaign is very, very short. It lasts just over 2 months. And Italy will only play 6 games. It's a ridiculous format. FIFA and FIFA have completely bodged this up. Only the top team qualifies. Otherwise, Italy will have to go to a playoff if they come second, which is again ridiculous format. It's a one-legged semi-final and then a one-legged final, which you might be playing away from home in. So there's not much room for error due to this, this ridiculous qualification format that the idiots at FIFA have come up with. So Italy have to be careful. The positives are that Italy will be seeded for the World Cup qualification draw, which I believe is next month. So they will be seeded, and there are more seeds now as a result of this expanded format. So they're going to be 12 groups, 12 seeds, which means that the groups are going to be weaker, but there's likely to be one of the 4 teams is likely to be someone that could be dangerous. And because you're only playing 6 games, there isn't room for error. You lose one of those games to this other dangerous team, and all of a sudden there's a really, really big risk that you're going to come second, and you're going to have to go to a playoff, which one-legged semi-final could be away from home, one-legged final could be away from home. It's a ridiculous format. So again, going on from kind of like the reality check, we have to say we have to be careful. We have to be on our game straight away in September, when usually our players are not fully match fit because everybody's having Ferragosto and the season's starting late. So, I don't want to be all doom and gloom here. I'm just saying, just warning everyone, we have to be a little bit careful, Nima.
No, absolutely have to be careful, and I'm glad that they have to be careful. I like Italy should never underestimate when Italians get arrogant, and that's when things don't go well. This was a good defeat. Again, I don't really care about the Nations League, and I'm actually quite happy. And I hope Italy are drawn with Spain and get knocked out, because I think it's a stupid tournament and a waste of time, and I don't want more games. I don't care about the Nations League. I care about the World Cup.
Well, we play friendlies instead, where the semi-finals and finals are.
Yeah, but what final Nations League? The Mickey Mouse Cup? Like, what are we even doing here? Oh, congratulations! What a trophy! Like, the Nations League is bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm just glad what I see it as the group stages of this against Belgium and France, the early games, a couple of was to see where Italy are, and I think they're in a good place. As for the knockout stages of the UEFA Mickey Mouse Cup, I do not care, especially given the workload that these players have. So I hope they get faced against Spain, and I hope they get knocked out so that they can rest, because these players are already overplayed. So I don't really care about that. I care about like you said, the warnings. There should be a warning sign sent, and I think Spalletti is wise enough to understand that, and I think he will start working towards that. And understanding that the big target is the World Cup 2026. Italy have to qualify without drama, and Italy have to go far in the World Cup, step by step. The problems that we've seen are there. Now it's time to address and adjust that with an eye towards the World Cup in 2026, where we'll have to wait, and where we have to see which players should come in and which players should come out of
Well,
this
let's
squad.
discuss that then. Let's discuss
Yeah.
it then. So, based on what we've learned from this whole UEFA Nations League campaign, let's have a look at kind of who we should build our 2025 around, shall we? Let's start off with the goalkeepers. So, if we kind of divide it between who the core should be, let's say, who should be there, should be in the talking point, but also let's put our foot down and say, right, these players, we want them out. We don't want them to be near the setup. So I would say, in terms of the players I want to be there or thereabouts from the goalkeepers, I think that Donnarumma, obviously undisputed number one. Then I would say Di Gregorio, Carnesecchi, I would have as my other two in the three. Perin, I would even have above Vicario and Meret. I don't want Vicario ever to play for Italy again, unless he can somehow prove that he's okay on corners anymore. Because we can't have Vicario playing in a game and costing us a goal off a corner in a big World Cup qualifier or a big match. We just can't. We cannot take the risk of him being in a game because anybody can score corners. So we can't have Vicario there. And Meret, I think, is below the others. So I would want Donnarumma, Di Gregorio, Carnesecchi, even Perin. I would have above those two.
No, nothing to add to that. I agree 100%. Di Gregorio has to be the second choice goalkeeper. That's just how I see it. I think he's the age he is, where he is in his career, how well he's done for Juve. Yes, Di Gregorio, without a doubt, should be this number two behind Donnarumma. And I'd rather have Carnesecchi as the third one above Meret and Vicario for sure. There's
Okay.
nothing to add.
Let's do centre backs now. We'll come to wing backs separately. So centre backs, like I said before, I think we've got a really good core of centre backs. So I would say that Di Lorenzo, Calafiori, Bastoni, Buongiorno, and Scalvini, fingers crossed. I mean, I've seen that he's back already and he could play this weekend. He's recovered from an ACL in 5 months. I don't want to give any negative energy and say what I know you're thinking as well. But that's for me, that's too soon. But let's hope they know what they're doing, and let's just pray that he comes back and he's well. I think those are the core though that we build around. And then, let's see, Gatti, Gabbia, Comuzzo, who didn't play, let's see how he comes on. Even a Cherby, I would consider, if we're desperate and we need to get a result to qualify and we've got a player out on two, I have no problem in playing a Cherby, say in September, October, if he's still at the level he's at now, and we need just to get a result to qualify. And then just to get over the line, we need to qualify. We haven't qualified for a World Cup for 12 years. We need to qualify. If it means that Cherby comes in for one game, I'm fine with that because he's still at the level. So that's who I'd have as my core. In terms of players out, I mean, maybe Mancini.
No,
Maybe,
we need a right-footed right centre back to back up to Di Lorenzo. I
well,
don't think that would
Scalvini.
be. Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced after I wasn't convinced of him before, and I'm not too convinced now. And I think we should give him this entire season to prepare. I don't like that he's coming back after 5 months only. I think this is the alarm bells are really going off there. But I mean, as I said, Di Lorenzo, Calafiori, Bastoni, Buongiorno, Scalvini. If Scalvini's fit and continues to progress well, fine. Those are the five. The sixth one, Acerbi in a pickle, absolutely. But I definitely have Mancini involved because I think Mancini is a mean SOB, and you need a mean SOB in the defense. You can't just
Okay.
have good choir boys.
Wing, yeah, band leaders. Now I'm thinking.
No,
You know what
the
film I'm thinking?
douchebag.
I'm thinking of Godfather now.
Yeah, no,
Right.
exactly. You need a douchebag in a defense. I'm sorry, but you do. You can't just have Acerbi's a mean SOB too. He gets under people's skin. He's a great man marker. Mancini's matured a lot, I think, under Mourinho and De Rossi. So I definitely have him there. But I mean, it depends. I mean, if Comuzzo and Gabbia continue to play really well, then why not?
Yeah.
But we're talking like fifth, sixth here. The starting lineup, the first four are like Di Lorenzo, Calafiori, Bastoni, Buongiorno. As long as they stay healthy and continue to play well, those it's 3 out of those 4.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Mancini. Okay, okay. Mancini's ain't no band leader, right? Wing backs.
No, he's more Luca Brasi in that case.
Yeah,
he's the guy sitting there talking to himself, saying, "May your firstborn be a masculine one." But yeah.
Well, stuttering. Anyway. Right, wing backs. Listen, I think Cambiasso, Di Marco, or Dorji. I think that's an absolute guarantee. I think our only question mark is really who's the fourth, who's the backup right wing back to Cambiasso. That's the only real question mark going forward
at this point.
Yeah,
Bellanova.
I mean, there's Bellanova, there's Savona, who was in this squad, didn't get a chance. Ruggieri, but he's obviously on the left. I think that's really what we're looking at really now.
Agreed.
Darmian.
Those three are just those three are just like the centre backs. You've got 2 positions and 3 players who are, when fit and in form, those are who you take.
Yeah. Darmian, I would say definitely out. We need to move on from him now. He's 30, going to be 35, so he's out. I mean, he hasn't played since the Euros either. Central midfielders now. I would say our core should be built around, for certain, Ricci, Tonali, Barella, Fratesi. At the moment, Rovella, but I wouldn't say he's a guarantee right now. So as I say, Ricci, Tonali, Barella, Fratesi are the guarantees. Then we're looking at the likes of Rovella, Pizzilli, Fagioli, maybe. You're probably going to say out for him. Brescianini, maybe. Let's see.
Yeah, Brescianini is an interesting one. If you're going to play that 3-5-1-1, I'd actually wouldn't mind playing Brescianini. I forgot about him when we were speaking about it, to be honest. Yeah, Brescianini in the 3-5-1-1, but then I want Locatelli in the squad as well. Like Ricci, Rovella, Tonali, Barella, Fratesi, Locatelli. Those are the like 5. Sorry, those are the 6. And then I'd have Brescianini as the number 10. I do not want to see Cristante, Jorginho, Fagioli, Pisilli. Let's wait. Pellegrini has to improve vastly for a Roma, which we're going to talk about, is in complete turmoil. Cristante, God no. And Jorginho, like, can we move on, please?
Yeah.
Like, it's just
absolutely 100% out Cristante and Jorginho, 95% out Pellegrini for me. And then Locatelli, I'm kind of I'm on the fence. I don't want to completely write him off, but I think he's behind the other options right now in that regista role, and whether or not I don't think he's seen as somebody that can play as a mezzala by Spalletti, but we'll see. As for forwards, this is really difficult. I mean, for me, there's only one guarantee in the squad right now, and that's Retegui. And that's after 2 really bad games as well. And then, again, I mean, you've got Raspadori, you've got Keane, you've got Maldini. Then you've got like Zaniolo and Chiesa, of course, but it depends on whether they can get their bodies in shape, which is a big if. And probably the answer is no to that. And then you've got, Gnonto, Kolyosho in the Championship, young coming through. Then you've got Lorenzo Luca. You've got Scamacca if he can come back from the ACL. I mean, these are all kind of ifs and maybes, and I think the bottom line is, I mean, there's Baldanzi as well. Maybe you could throw in there, but I mean, the bottom line is that we need someone to develop really big time, and
we need Raspadori to play more. We need Keane to continue his great form. And we need Luca to continue. I think Luca should be in the squad based on how well he's performed, and I think he offers something that when Retegui's tired or having an off day, I think he offers something as a good, as a decent replacement for Retegui. So I definitely have Luca right now. Luca, Retegui, Raspadori, and then one of Keane and Maldini, I guess. Scamacca, like Scalvini, we have to wait and see. I mean, he's training again, Scamacca, which is good. But, given the nature of the injury that kept him out, we have to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, I agree. The only players I would say out are, I mean, Berardi,
Yes, come on,
Politano,
that's over. That's
because
finished.
not just because of their age, they're in their 30s now, but because of their position. The wingers just are not going to work in a 3-5-1-1
Well, that's
or
the same
3-5-2.
reason we don't have Zaccagni, even though he's
Well,
playing well for Lazio.
yeah, even and playing well for Lazio, and was actually one of the few players that played well in the Euros as well.
Yeah,
Always done well
there's
for
no
it.
point. If you're going to
fair.
play this system, you're going to have to sacrifice wingers,
Yeah.
and Berardi, Politano, Zaccagni
Which
are
could do in for
unfortunate.
Kolyosho as well, who's actually been linked to some big clubs, by the way. It's all Bayern Munich apparently looking at him as well. I mean, that's probably partly due to the Vincent Kompany factor, but yeah, yeah. Okay, well, that's Italy. That's it. That's Italy for the 2024. That's all their games over. But there will be, the Nations League draw this month. I think it's later this week, and there will be the World Cup qualifying draw next month, which we will definitely react to. So there's still that to look forward to. Before we finish, just briefly, let's talk about a few club matters. First of all, Claudio Ranieri to Roma. Very, very quickly on this, because we spoke about this in depth on our Q&A show, which all patrons can listen to. Claudio Ranieri has returned to Roma for his third spell at the age of 73. Very romantic. On the day that Gladiator 2 came out, I'm calling this Claudius Ranieris, Gladiator 3. Will he restore the glory of Rome? Nima. Come on. You love your Roman history. Go on,
Yeah, I
give us
do.
something.
Listen, I watched his press conference and I absolutely loved how he answered the Dybala question, and I absolutely loved that he's reached the stage of his career that he's not getting suckered into stupid discussions, where he made it absolutely clear that as long as he's there, he's going to pick his team based on his decisions and his thoughts and ideas, and not take any consideration into anything the owners think about clauses being activated and so on. I thought that was a brilliant answer. He basically made clear his authority from the get-go. If either I'm here and I do the job, or you don't, or I leave, which I think was very important. And given where Roma are, I think it's the more clarity is in leadership and everything surrounding this first team is very needed. I do think that he's going to provide some much needed stability to Roma. I think he's going to provide some much needed structure, organization, and also instill a sense of pride in what it means to play for Roma, what it means to wear that shirt, which I think has been lost a little bit due to the Friedkin's ridiculous decisions of the last 12 months. Sacking this guy, bringing that guy, then giving him a contract and sacking him. I mean, it's just been non-stop chaos. Ranieri, I think, will be able to, everybody respects Ranieri in Italian football, and definitely in Rome. They love him. He's one of them. And he will, I think he will have, there will be quite a lot of patience with him. I think he has a lot of work to do on his hands, and it's not going to be easy. It's going to be very, very, very difficult, because the mess that is Roma is just the way that we've gone from winning the Conference League, being in the final of the Europa League, where they lost on penalties, where they would have been in the Champions League to where they are now, is just like it's the fall off is off the Grand Canyon. That's the level of fall off we've seen. I don't think Ranieri will get Roma into a top 4, maybe not even top 6, but I think what he will do is instill some much needed, as I said, stability, and also pride, and give the supporters and the club and the entire environment around the Giallorossi some calm, and
Yes.
because he's very good at that, you know.
He'll bring some calm, and he'll allow them to try and plan for next season
Yes,
and the future,
yes.
which is why I think they've hired him.
Yeah, and also,
and he'll be part of that as well.
I was just about to say, he's going to be given some sort of a technical role, which I think is a good thing. Maybe they need someone who they trust, because the Friedkins don't know what they're doing.
No, they need someone with a connection and Roman connection and identity, also with the fans as well. That can because that is part of running a football club. It's not just on the pitch. It's off the pitch as well, and connecting the pitch to the management and so it's big job for Ranieri, no doubt about it. Also a big job for Thiago Motta to try and sort out this Juventus defence, because they're in absolute crisis now. Juventus' defence, the second defender this season to suffer an ACL tear. Juan Cabal on international duty with Colombia in training, and he ruptures his ACL and will be out for the rest of the season. It's a devastating blow for both players, of course, Bremer and then first Cabal, but more so for Juventus now, because they now only have 4 senior defenders in their squad between now and January. One of them is Danilo, who I think everybody that's watched him play can see he's completely finished. And then they have 2 plus 2 promoted next gen players, Savona and Rui. I mean, some would say that Savona's now an established senior player, but the point is that there's barely any options there at all. This just shows that Juventus absolutely, they need to sign a centre back and a left back in January now. There's no doubt about that. They already need a forward, because they've only got one striker. So the squad is so thin. There's just no options there. So Motta really has his work cut out between now and January. He needs to just somehow try and keep Juventus somehow in the mix between now and January, still in the kind of like there or thereabouts at the top. If you can do that and be only kind of like a few points off the top between now and January, I think he would have done an amazing job, because there's a lot of games coming up. There's Europe, there's a lot of Champions League games as well, and this squad is that the defense, they're not going to have any rest, and it's a bit of a mess. Probably, according to from what I'm hearing, Juventus are going to have to sacrifice someone, because they spent a lot of money in the summer, and they don't really have any budget to play with in January already. So the idea they have to go and sign a centre back and a left back and maybe a forward as well. I mean, where's the money going to come from? They're probably going to have to sacrifice someone. They're talking about Mbangula. I don't know how much money they would get for him. And even Danilo, somebody they might try to sell just to get him off the books to save on his wages. We'll have to see. But they're in a really kind of desperate position, Nima.
Desperate doesn't even begin to describe what's. I mean, it's like normally I would be here saying Inter have had really bad luck with injuries, but then I compare to what's happened at Juve, and I mean, what the bloody hell is going on? It's like,
we had a question on the Q&A, didn't we, about this last week?
Yeah.
About, are they doing something wrong, Juventus, with the injuries? I don't know, but I mean, there's a bigger question here, isn't there, Nima? Which we've done to death, and I don't want to go over and over it again. But I tweeted this out after the Cabal injury, and it went viral. The tweet that this year in 2024, there's been 39 ACL injuries in the Big 5 leagues in 2024. There's over 20 ACL injuries this season already in this Big Five leagues. We're only in the middle of November. There's over 20 ACL injuries in the Big Five leagues. If you go to the Women's Super League, I wrote an article on this. It's like even far worse. There's something like, I think something like around 20 ACL victims in the Women's Super League in England alone this season. I mean, I concluded that I think the players should have to strike. They have to go on strike now about this, because the number of is clear. You know, as when we did it, when I did an interview with a medical expert on this, that the biggest factor in causing all these ACL injuries is there's too many games, and there's too many matches, and that there needs to be a reduction in matches, and they're doing the opposite. The FIFA, UEFA are just increasing the games. We've now got this Club World Cup that's going to start as well at the end of the season. That's going to be played into July. You know, something needs to be done about this. They're not doing anything about it. This is a clear crisis. This is an epidemic, and FIFA and UEFA are not talking about it. They don't care. They don't want to do anything about it. So the only way we're going to do something about this is if the players strike.
It's getting ridiculous. Like, we can't have it like this. I'm really it's just not working. And I really don't know what to say.
Well, they're ignoring it, Nima. That's the problem. They're not saying anything. They're just ignoring it as like it's not an issue. We can see the figures. It's clearly this is an epidemic, and they're just ignoring it like it doesn't exist, like something else in football right now. But let's not go there. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to solve the problem just by pretending it doesn't exist, and just by adding more games and more competitions. You know, it's going to get worse.
Of course, it's going to get worse. It's not. It's just. Of course, it's going to get worse, and it's not working, and it's like how do you but the thing is, though, that you know what's going to happen is that if they go on a strike, it's going to cause complete mayhem, chaos, and they're going to be vilified, and people are going to be, you know, the machine will go against them, and so on and so forth. And it's like, I don't know. I think they should do it. I think what they should do is probably in the off season say, look, we finished this season, we've had this many injuries. Either you solve this because you've got 3 months to do it until next season, or we sit at the negotiating table and do something, or else we're going on strike from next season. Like, simple as that. Because it can't continue. Their health, their careers, the quality of football, all is at stake here. Yeah. And it's getting to the point now where every bloody week, every other day, you're just waiting to hear about someone suffering a serious knee injury.
Yeah. Well, the last week has been a really bad one. The space of 7 days, we had Cabal, but before that we had Militao, and we had Icardi as well for Galatasaray. We had like 3 high-profile ACLs in the space of like, I think 6 days or 5 days or something. It's mad. It's like you say, every other day, every other game, every other match day of football, there's an ACL pretty much at the moment.
No, it is. It's absurd.
Yeah, it is mad. And just check those listening. Check out the women's football. It's unbelievable. Like, that's probably something physiological to do with the women's body is causing more. You know, it's causing more ACLs in women's football. There's that as well, but it's like the problem is that nothing's been done about it at all.
No, nothing. I don't know if it's physiological. I think it's where you see men's football and you see the number of games. And
no, there has been studies to say that there's physiological reasons why women are actually 2 to 6 times more likely to suffer ACL injuries than men. But you know, I'm just saying that there is that as well. But with the men, it's clearly we know what the number one reason is. It's bloody obvious. You know, so and all the health experts are all saying it as well. So it's not like, you know, just me and you here sitting on a pod saying it. You know, it's pretty clear. Talking of players who won't be playing for Juventus this season or ever again, Paul Pogba. is officially left Juventus. Finally terminated his contract. I feel like we've spoken about this so many times. So but here we go again for one final time, Nima. This is the end of Paul Pogba at Juventus. Very, very sad. I think in a way that this is. No, he'll still be remembered for the great first spell. Of course, you can't take that away. But I mean, let's be honest. This second spell has been a complete disaster. I think, as we both said,
No, it's the
the
worst
worst
comeback of any player at any club.
Hmm.
Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, literally, if you look at what since the day he returned, first question marks around his fitness and health. He has that meniscus injury. He messes around with it because he doesn't want to miss the World Cup. Doesn't decide to not have the surgery. Then is forced to have the surgery. It misses the entire beginning of the season with Juve. Then, as soon as he's about to come back, he gets the doping suspension. I mean, it's been an unmitigated disaster, and it's just been a complete waste of money. And it's been a complete waste of time and money, and I think it's unfortunate to say that Pogba at this level can't play at this level, and his body just can't take it. I think he's finished at this level. I think if he continues his career,
MLS.
It will be in MLS or Saudi, something like that.
Yeah, I reckon MLS. That's my prediction. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see him still play in a top 5 league. I would love it. It would be a great story, but I don't think his body's up to it. I mean, his body was falling apart for 3 years before the doping suspension, which is probably part of the reason why. Yeah. Well, anyway, let's not go there. But it's sad. It's still sad.
It is sad. I always feel that although he did win important trophies and he was important for France, it still feels like he never really fulfilled his potential. Like,
absolutely.
It still definitely feels like that.
He made a mistake joining Man United.
He should never have gone.
That's where it all went wrong.
Yeah,
he went to
agreed.
a club that was
free fall.
That just was just a terribly run club. It's a giant club. Don't get me wrong; it's one of the biggest clubs in the world. There was nothing wrong with joining a team like Man United. It was just that, as we've seen since Ferguson left, the last 11 years, 12 years, they've been run so badly by the Glazers. It's just a joke of a club, and any big player should not be joining Man United, because you're not going to you're not going to fulfill your career. And that's obviously, he made a mistake. If he was going to leave Juventus, he should have gone to Real Madrid or Barcelona or if he was going to join one of the bigger Premier League teams, Man City or someone like that, even PSG, someone where he could have been playing the big games and the big competitions and all the time, not a team like Man United that are, were a complete mess off the pitch. So that's where it started, and then his body started to break down, didn't it?
No, it did. It really did, and it's sad. It's really, really sad to see, and it was it just goes to show how important you got to make right decisions, career decisions, and even if it's like £100 million or whatever it was when he joined Man United, and the high wages and blah 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 blah. Him and Lukaku going to United was it was bad for both of them. It was a complete mess, and Conte and Mourinho kind of went in. They kind of screwed each other there, because Lukaku should have gone to Chelsea when Conte was there, and Morata should have gone to United when Mourinho was there. That would have been better for everybody. Instead, they just messed with each other. Neither, Conte won the Premier League and the FA Cup, but it would have been better if Lukaku was there. And of course, Mourinho won 3 trophies at United, but it still wasn't. It could have gone so much better. They could have built something, that better. Both of them, could have built something more sustainable there. With
certainly unfulfilled, but still a career that most people would dream of. If you look at what he did at Juventus in his first spell, which was magical, and also obviously he won the World Cup with France. So not been a bad career.
And Dybala at Juve, that first spell was truly fantastic.
For sure.
Was something else.
Right, let me go through the Serie A fixtures. Now we won't have a show later in the week because Nima is coming to London for the Football Content Awards, where we are nominated for best international podcast in the world. So we're going to be attending the awards ceremony at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Thank you everyone that vote for us. I can say now, confirm now that we've won the social vote by a landslide. It's a 50-50. It's a 50%. It's a 50-50 vote though. So half of the votes come from fans from social media, and half the votes come from a panel of judges. So I can tell you all now, if it was just a fan vote, we've won the award already. We've won by a landslide. So we'll see. We'll see how we do with the judges. But thank you everyone for voting us. It means a lot to us, and thanks for your support. Weekend Serie A fixtures. I'll read through them. So Saturday we have Verona Inter, Milan Juventus, and Parma Atalanta. Then on Sunday we have Genoa Cagliari, Como Fiorentina, Torino Monza, Napoli Roma, Lazio Bologna, and then on Monday we have Empoli Udinese, Venezia Lecce. So two huge games in particular here. The biggest of them all, of course, Milan against Juve, which is a massive game for both teams for the Scudetto race. I mean, for Milan, it's massive because, after their draw against Cagliari in the last game, they really need to win this game, because if they lose, but even if they draw, they are at risk of being out of the Scudetto race. I mean, neither of us think they're in the Scudetto race really, but they have the quality to be in the Scudetto race. But in terms of points, if they lose this game or draw this game, with Inter playing at Verona and Napoli at home, I mean, there's a good chance that we could pretty much write off their chances.
I've already have done that because even before the season began, because I just don't think they're thereabouts. But even with a game in hand, they're 5 points behind Napoli. Napoli play Roma, but no, they need to win. They can't afford to lose. Let's put it that way. They can't afford to lose this game, Milan. And if they were to win it, which I think they have a good chance of doing, to be honest, it would kind of clear things up a little bit. It would make for smooth sailing again, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, generally Milan have actually done all right in the big games so far this season. Beat Inter, beat Real Madrid. They've done okay, really, and they were even against Napoli. They probably, based on the play, they controlled a lot of that game as well. So they've generally done all right in the big matches. As for Juventus, obviously, as we just said, like they do have a bit of not just a bit, a big defensive crisis. But again, they just need to try and hang in there until January. That's what they need to do. Just try and hang in there. Just try and get to January, and then see what can be done. See what Giuntoli can cook up in the market. Napoli Roma, of course, huge as well. Napoli still top, and but Roma Cagliari, ex-Cagliari coach Ranieri coming out of retirement. I mean, that's a baptism of fire, isn't it? For Ranieri. I mean, that's going to be a great game as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Roma have had some time to land. Ranieri's come. There's always going to be a positivity around that, but now that he's worked with a squad, it's important to see how he goes. But he goes up against a Napoli who have done well. In terms of the beginning of the season, they had a decent. They had a decent result against Inter. They're still top of the league, so Napoli are always going to be structured and well organized, especially at home. Antonio Conte teams at home are always difficult to beat. But the biggest game, of course, is Venezia Lecce.
Of course. Yes.
What are you talking about? I don't even know what you're on about. It's Venezia Lecce. That game is.
It's ironic that Nima books his flight back on Monday morning and not
Sunday evening.
Sunday evening, yeah. So he just books his flight to make sure he's back for Venezia Lecce. I mean, who cares about Milan, Juve, and Napoli, Roma? I've got to be back for Venezia Lecce, haven't I?
But it's true. I mean, he got Lecce sacked. Lecce's got a new coach, and they got Marco Giampaolo returning to the Serie A, which is going to be very interesting. And then you got Venezia under Di Francesco, who's actually done pretty all right. They've done better than I expected, even though they're last. I expected them to have 0 points. They've got 8, which is 8 more than I expected them to have. But no, and then it's definitely interesting. And then you've got already there You got Genoa Cagliari as well, which is like going to be very fascinating to see what happens. And then you got Monza playing Torino. No, the relegation battle, the interesting part of the league table is the two important clashes are of course Venezia Lecce
Of course.
and Genoa Cagliari.
Of
Don't
course,
miss
of
them.
course. Right, let's finish off with Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. Okay, I think we're struggling a little bit on this week. I have a fantastic Serie Ass of the week, but Baggio, do we have a Baggio of the week?
I'm not. No, I haven't seen anything Baggio-esque, to be honest. It's been a very, like, it's in terms of like it's no.
Ranieri?
I guess
Should we just
I'll
give it to
probably go Ranieri.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ranieri's return and the love of the Roma fans and him returning home is beautiful. I think that's a beautiful story. I think it's been a very typical Rome Italian football story, isn't it? It's very, very pretty. It's very, very romantic. It's Christmas morning for calcio romantics. Claudio Ranieri returning to Roma.
Okay, Premface of the week.
I've not seen anything. I've not seen anything really prem-facery. I can't remember. Someone sent me something stupid that Goldbridge said, but I mean that's just every day that ends in a Y. So it's not it's I don't really listen to Brent.
Was it he's going to be on some they're doing a reality show for the next football influencer or something like that.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
To me, the Premface I'll tell you what I think Premface is. That Mike Tyson thing was just embarrassing for everybody involved.
Yeah, but listen, this is what they do. I mean, these influencers, they make a ton of money. Like they make
I don't understand why. Who pays for this shit?
Again, I don't want to go into our conversation on the young generation again.
Leave the young people alone.
But this is what they're into. They worship these bloody influencers, these talentless influencers. They worship them. That's their idols. You know, when we were kids, Nima, we had posters up in our room of our idols. Football idols, or I had Roberto Baggio poster up in my room when I was a kid. And then then you get older, you might have a pop star idol in your room, or a movie idol, or these youngsters, their idols are what influencers, YouTube influencers. That's who they want to be when they get older, and that's their heroes. Oh my god, it's a YouTube influencer. Oh my god, it's man, and the money they make.
Jake Paul?
Boxing.
Like, what the hell is he? Who the hell is he?
These fights, they make more money than the actual world title boxing fights. It's insane. Jake Paul, it was him or his brother did that stupid advertisement for Juventus. Remember that Prime?
Oh,
that
God,
Prime one where they just hold in and then you got that idiot. What's his name? Bloody Speed, like just holding his like. That's what This is the young generation, Emma. This is their thing, But anyway, Serie Ass of the week though is Wout Weghorst. Not really anything to do with Serie A, but let's call him Ass of the week. So in the Netherlands versus Hungary Nations League game, about 7 minutes I think it was into the match, Adam Zalai, who's the former Hungary player, now member of the coaching staff of Hungary, he collapsed, had a medical emergency on the pitch, and it was very, very serious. I think the reports are that it was a seizure, but it was very, very serious. And they formed like a huddle around him, and he was given medical attention. It was really serious. That everybody was really shaken up. He got rushed to hospital. Nobody knew how if he was conscious, if he was okay. No one knew anything. They debated. The game was stopped for over 10 minutes. They debated whether or not to continue the game, and some of the players, Szoboszlai, the Liverpool player, I mean, he looked completely like a nervous wreck. And anyway, they decided to continue the game, and thankfully later on in the evening, we didn't know this until later. Later on, it emerged that he was conscious, The Hungary FA put out a statement saying that he was fine, and the player himself, or Tavallaey himself, also did a post on Instagram saying that he was fine, and they're having more medical tests to see what it was and what it is and everything. So obviously, best of wishes that he he makes a full recovery and that he's okay. But at the time of the incident, it was really serious. No one knew what the hell was going on, and they resumed the game anyway. As they went onto the pitch, though, the referee got called to do a VAR check on an incident that happened just before he collapsed, and gave a penalty. So they went back on the pitch, and the Netherlands got a penalty straight away. Wout Weghorst steps up, takes the penalty, scores it, and then sprints over to the fans and celebrates it like he scored the winner in the World Cup final, like vociferously celebrates it, does a knee slide. He's really delighted to have scored. I mean, wow. I mean, talking about insensitive and understanding like the moment, he does that. I mean, it's unbelievable, and he's been bombarded with abuse. Obviously, rightfully so. I mean, that's unbelievable that you can do something like that when who knows? I mean, as far as they knew, Tavallaey could have died. They don't know.
I saw that, and it was insane. Like the way that he slid on his knees, and like it was very weird. And from what I understand, it was a pretty meaningless game too. Like it wasn't exactly it was very, very weird. I don't know what that was about. Yeah. I think he just forgot about it. He's just happy that he scored, but it was. He
has been. I mean, do you remember during the Netherlands versus Argentina game during the World Cup quarter final? There was that massive melee at the end of the game between the two players. Who knows who was in the right or the wrong? Probably both were in the wrong. But Messi, laid into
Bobo. What are you looking at, Bobo?
Yeah, do you remember that in the mix zone and on camera at the end of the game? And he thought he was disrespectful. So I don't know. Maybe the little dictator had a point there. Maybe Weghorst was disrespectful. Who knows? I mean, that was shocking. That really was.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
But yeah, that's Serie A.
The Messi Weghorst thing during the World Cup was hilarious. What are you looking at, dum-dum?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Loved it. Okay, right. Oh, and also, it was quite amusing, the response when he was asked about this at the end of the game. Ronald Koeman, the manager, was asked about, what do you make of all the people on social media that are criticising Weghorst for celebrating, the goal. And Ronald Koeman's response was, people on social media are imbeciles, I think he called them, or something like that. Which was quite amusing as well.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Ronald Koeman is so unhinged. He does say stupid. Like, I gotta say though, like the Dutch football is full of characters who can have hilarious meltdowns. Like I know Van Gaal on TV has given us some of the most golden clips of all time. I can't remember
a lot of them. Schneider, Van der Vaart is the best right now. Van der Vaart just lays into everyone, especially Harry.
No, but I mean
Harry Maguire. Some of the things he says about Harry.
Yeah,
Maguire.
the things he says about Harry Maguire on TV is insane. But I mean Van Gaal especially, when he's having a bad day and he's not happy with even if he's hired to be a pundit, he doesn't even have a club at the moment. He can literally just.
No, they all come up. They all come up with some. Van Hanegem, the 1970s legend, he comes up with some mad stuff. Van der Meijden, some of the stuff some of the stuff he's done on reality TV on the Dutch Big Brother. I'm not going to explain what he did because I don't want to condone it. But some of the stuff that he's done,
it's mad. Yeah, Dutch footballers on TV.
They don't mince their words, do they? I mean, Van Basten
they do
upset.
Not. Van Basten. Yeah, oh my God,
he upset Mark Goldbridge, didn't he? Talking to Mark Goldbridge with what he said about Ugarte, he related to him.
Yeah, they really don't they don't mince their words.
He said something like, "How the hell is he worth 60 million?" And someone said to him, "Well, you've only watched him play once for United. He says, I only needed to watch him once to see that he's not worth 60 million.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, and then Mark Albright said something incredibly stupid about who the hell are you, and it's like, didn't Van Basten win the Ballon d'Or?
Yeah, he says you're overrated. You built your career on a mishit volley, like Tony Yeboah. Yeah. Anyway,
Insane.
let's leave it at that. We will be back for the Q&A on Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah, maybe Wednesday. Yeah. And then we'll see for the rest of the week because Nima is coming to London. Until next time, everybody. Ciao, ciao.